So here's our mixed material, and we're ready to put it out on the floor. The steps are very simple. We're doing this with just a single color, but the process would be the same if you were using two colors. So we'll go ahead and we'll get started pouring. So we're just going to go ahead and dump out the entire contents of this bucket randomly all over our space. Now we want to get the material out of the bucket as quickly as possible, so we mixed it for 3 minutes, and then within another 2 to 3 minutes we want to have this material all out of the bucket. That's going to give us the maximum amount of working time that we're looking for. The longer the material is left in the bucket, the shorter the working time is that you're going to have, because the epoxy is generating heat. Heat is what dries or cures epoxy, so we don't want that to happen to us while it's in the material. Here's just a little tip before we start squeegeeing. That's something that's very common that people do after they pour the epoxy, because they're trying to get every last drop of epoxy to drain out on the floor. We say don't do that, and the reason is because there could be some unmixed resin that's in the bottom of this bucket, whether it be A or B, and now that unmixed resin is going to drip out on the floor, and it's going to cause the epoxy to not harden properly in those areas. We've seen it often where people will have 3 or 4 kits, and they'll call us and they'll say that they have 3 or 4 spots on their floor that didn't dry. And that's simply because they turned the bucket upside down. So you can allow most of the material to drain out of the bucket, but don't actually turn it over and leave it upside down trying to get every last drop out of the bucket. That's just going to lead to a problem. So we've got it poured out onto the floor. We'll get our squeegee and we'll go ahead and start squeegeeing. All right, so now we squeegee the epoxy over the entire surface. And again, we're using our magic trowel squeegee. It's a real nice tool that puts the epoxy on just perfectly. Another nice thing about the magic trowel is it gets right up to the edges of the wall, so you almost don't have to do any sort of edge work. Just let the magic trowel do all the work for you. But we're just randomly squeegeeing this epoxy all over the floor. There's really no right or wrong way to do it. At this point, we're just trying to get coverage on the whole floor. We've got our spike shoes on. That's allowing us to be able to walk in the epoxy without leaving big holes or divots. The holes that are left behind are so small from the spikes that just due to the flow, the natural flow of the epoxy, all of them will close back in on their own. Now, as you can see, we're just doing a single color. This is our silver, but the process would have pretty much been the same had we been using 2 colors. We would have just done a bucket of silver, and then if it was a second color, we would have done a bucket of the second color. Random ribbons, as we did with the silver. And then we just, right now, instead of blending or spreading a single color, we would be blending and spreading both colors over the floor. But this video would just give you an idea of the different steps that are involved in actually installing the metallic, and give you an opportunity to see what a single color looks like. Of course, if you want to see the process in detail for doing a 2-color design, we have plenty of videos on our YouTube channel. and also on our website at epoxyplus.com. We're spreading this at a rate of about 180 to 200 square feet per 3-gallon kit. The thicker the better with the metallic. If you choose to use less material and go thinner, you will not get as much depth out of the epoxy, and it just doesn't have quite the same look. So we feel that the right amount is at about 180 square feet per 3-gallon kit. Now this is a small job, so it's easy for one person to do this themselves. Had this been a larger job, let's say you're doing 1,000 square feet or more, you would probably want some help. It's nice to have somebody mix, somebody squeegee, and somebody back roll. However, if you do follow the recommendations and the steps that we outline, it is possible for even one person with proper prep to do even a large job totally by themselves. All right, so that's it for the squeegeeing. We've got the epoxy covering the whole floor, and now we'll begin the back rolling process. All right, so the first thing that we want to do is go ahead and saturate our roller covers before we start rolling the floor. The reason being that these 3/8 nap shed-free or shed-resistant rollers, they hold a lot of material, and if we were just to go ahead and start rolling the floor right now, the roller is just going to be picking up material, and we don't want that. So we've left a little puddle right here of product, as you can see, and now we'll just take a minute and we'll saturate this roller. And that way the rolling process will be a little bit easier for us. And we'll do the same thing for our little 4-inch edge roller. All right, so I think those are pretty good. All right, so we take our edge roller and we hit the edges real quick, and it's almost not even a matter of really rolling it. We're almost just pushing material right up against the edge of the wall very quick, just to get full coverage of everything. So we push it just to the edge just a little bit, almost acting as a squeegee. And that's all there is to rolling out the edges. Now we go ahead and we take our 18-inch roller and we can begin the rolling process across the floor with the 18-inch roller. Now we typically want to roll the epoxy 2 to 3 times, and we want to do that in different directions. So if we start off going north and south, then the next pass will go east to west. And then if we feel like we want to do it a third time, we would go in an alternate direction. But as you can see with these 18-inch roller covers, it's a really fast process, and that's why we include the 18-inch roller covers in our toolkits, because it's just the professional way to do this. It's a time saver. You can cover a lot of ground with this. An 18-inch roller is like 3 people rolling with 9-inch rollers. The other advantage to an 18-inch roller as well is that the weight is evenly distributed across the roller, whereas a 9-inch roller, you have more weight on one side than another. So we just finished the first pass with our 18-inch roller cover, and the floor is looking really good. But you remember we put up our blue tape along the walls to protect our baseboards. We have two choices at this point. We can leave the tape up and come back tomorrow to remove it, or we can remove the tape now. Option number 2 is much better, removing the tape now. It's just a matter of pulling it off right now. It'll take us 2 minutes to do it. If we wait until tomorrow, this epoxy is going to be hard. It's going to have locked in the tape at the bottom, and it's going to be a lot of work to get the tape off. It's going to require some kind of utility knife or razor blade knife in order to score the bottom of the tape, and then being very careful to pull it off because the epoxy won't be anywhere near cured yet. So our option that we're going to take is to pull it off now, and I'm going to show you how easy that is. It's literally just a matter of picking it up and pulling it. Now, one tip with the tape: instead of putting up small pieces of tape and ripping it off from the roll and another small piece, we encourage you to do long pieces going all the way across an entire wall or more. And that way you can simply just go like this, and it will come off in just one continuous piece. Very easy. Extremely simple. We're taking just not even a minute to do it right now, and it could potentially save us hours and hours of work tomorrow. So we've got one more wall that we want to do. We'll go ahead and take that off now. All right, so we just pulled off all of our tape, and we're going to go ahead and do our second roll. This time we're going in the opposite direction. So we just laid out our metallic epoxy. We poured it out on the floor in ribbons. We squeegeed it around the floor using our magic trowel, and then we came back with our 18-inch shed-free roller, and we rolled the floor 2 times. Now you may choose to roll it a 3rd time. There's nothing wrong with that. You may see some areas that you feel that need just a little bit more attention, maybe where there's a little bit too high of a concentration of a particular color. You can take your roller at this time and you can massage it or roll it or move it around, or however you want to do it with the roller. But we're very satisfied with the way this floor looks right now, so we're going to go ahead and leave it as is. Please keep in mind that the next coating to be applied would be a urethane top coat. If you choose to install a urethane in order to help you plan your project, please keep in mind that the urethane top coat will be installed as soon as the metallic epoxy is dry and walkable, meaning not tacky. This usually takes about 16 hours to dry. However, in order to help you plan properly, the urethane top coat must be installed on top of the metallic epoxy within 24 hours. If you miss the 24-hour recoat window, you will have to sand the epoxy with a 60 grit sanding screen in order to create the proper bond for the urethane top coat to adhere properly. In other words, the urethane top coat would typically be installed between the 16th and 24th hour after the initial installation of the metallic epoxy.